Welcome back to the Sex Talk. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about the difference between crisis management and therapy.
The Sex Talk.
The Sex Talk.
So, this happens a lot in therapy. I think we live in a culture where people assume that therapy is someone to come and talk to, someone to help you, just give you some feedback, just have almost like a friend. And I think that some of that may be true, but there's actually work that we can do in therapy. And I think that is a piece that a lot of people actually miss or don't realize when they come into therapy, because the work can be really difficult, right? The work is hard. It's hard to dig into your history. It's hard to look at your patterns and your behaviors. It's really hard to look at trauma. And most people that come into therapy are carrying some sort of trauma in their bodies, essentially. And what do I mean by that? We carry trauma with us, right? In psychotherapy, I think the old school initial thinking is that is all psychological and up here. However, it's not just up here. A good sort of like mind and body therapist recognizes that trauma gets stored in the body as well. We hold it in our bodies. We experience it over and over again in our bodies, which sends a message to our brain that we're in danger. However, we're not in danger. We're responding to an old hurt, an old pain, an old trauma. And so what happens in therapy a lot is doing that deep dive work feels kind of like, well, that's not really what I came for. I really need someone to just talk to. And so what ends up happening is you're doing therapy, but it's actually crisis management. In other words, just coming to therapy to have somebody to offload how your day went is technically a form of crisis management, because that therapist is now, how do I say this? That therapist is now basically helping you get through the day, right? Or get through the week. You know, if you're seeing your therapist once a week, which is the pretty normal thing to do. Pretty common sort of traditional way of doing therapy is that we see our therapist once a week. So when you are coming to therapy and you're just kind of offloading your week onto your therapist, and you're having some conversation and some feedback, and yeah, maybe your therapist is like, oh, there's a pattern. Oh, there's that. Oh, look at that. Those are forms of crisis management. Those are actually not deep dive therapy, which is actually a lot more painful, a lot more, it's a little bit harder. So when you sign up for therapy, it's important to get clear, and I think that a lot of therapists, so if you're a therapist out there watching this, I think this is an important piece too, is deciphering the difference between what is crisis management, helping the client get through the day or the week, versus therapy, which actually delves a lot deeper and actually is the more healing aspect of the work. Because we can help you get through the week. We can certainly provide you insight, and that might be enough for some folks. Some folks might be like, this is perfect. This is all I need. This is, you know, where I take the lead and I can make these changes in my life. But not everybody can do that, especially when the trauma is so deeply rooted and you're not even aware that that's what's sort of ruling the roost here. You know, let's talk about, for example, self-sabotaging behaviors. Let's talk about anger. So both of those kind of go hand in hand. Anger often is what the reaction or the response is to a trauma. And that anger can be self-sabotaging, right? Because you ruin friendships, you ruin jobs, you take it out in a way that may feel good in the moment, but has really long-lasting repercussions and doesn't allow you to move forward. In fact, you're just burning bridges everywhere you go. And when you start doing that on a regular basis, you're self-sabotaging. So this is a really, really, really common side effect of trauma. And you may come to therapy every week and your therapist is pointing that out. Oh, there's this pattern. Oh, there's this pattern. Oh, this might be from your trauma. This might be from your trauma. But the actual work to undoing that is you saying, I got to recognize how I feel that trauma in my body. And if you're not doing that kind of work, you're still in the insight phase, which can be very helpful. As I was saying, you're noticing, you're pinpointing, but what are you actually doing to change it? So this is just a quick video on the difference between that type of therapy, which I consider to be crisis counseling or crisis management, just to sort of get you through the day and plant seeds, versus the real work where you dive in and you say, I need to change this. This is something that is not okay with me anymore. I am living in fear. I am angry all the time. I am self-sabotaging. And this is not sustainable anymore. At that point is when you will start to do the deep dive and make the deep changes. And we can follow up on another video on what that actually looks like. But I just wanted to give a little bit of an introduction to what the deep dive is actually going to look like. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.
The Sex Talk.
The Sex Talk.